And hello, everybody. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. We have a great show for you tonight. Excited to talk to Mike Bellotti, former coach of the Oregon Ducks for, I don't know, quarter of a century or 2 centuries. I don't know. It was a long, long time. And we're going to talk to Mike about a little bit about that, what he's doing now, but also a really important event coming up in Eugene where he will be, and so will I, and so will Dr. Bratlin. Dr. Bratlin is a major sponsor of the MDA golf tournament this year, and Mike's been involved with it forever. I would bet till when it started. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too and find out why, and just kind of get, have some conversation with the former coach. So our sponsor of this show tonight is Chris Dental Family Dentistry, where everyone is welcome. He cares about your dental health, but he also cares about your civil liberties. And he's really big on your freedom to speak and of speech. And Michael's a great guy. He's my dentist. I know, Bellotti, you did some commercials for this guy for a few years too, I think. Didn't you? Hi, Mike.
We did something, about having white teeth. I can't remember. There were billboards, I think, of Joey Harrington and myself somewhere around Eugene. And it was the best my teeth had ever looked, I got to tell you.
I do. People go, how come your teeth are so white? And I said, because he made me a mold and I put the real, not the Phaco product, but the real thing that he gives you. And I'll tell you what, to go in and have that done, and it does make a huge difference. But I remember your billboard up there, but that was before I knew Michael. And then when I started working with him, I went, oh, you're the Bellotti guy. Which is exactly what you want as a marketer. You want them to kind of remember your people and stuff. So tell people, kind of catch people up a little bit about what you and Colleen are doing.
Well, we're happily retired and we live most of the time in Bend, Oregon, and spend a little bit of time in Eugene. And then the winters, we tend to come down to La Quinta, California, and we chase little golf balls and pickleballs and things like that, and do a little fishing, and pretty much enjoy our grandkids, our kids, our friends, and spend time on, just pursuits of reading and exercise and trying to stay ahead of the health curve.
I was just listening to a podcast the other day about old guys like us, and the guy said it was so appropriate because, and I have it written down here, and this wasn't to talk to you about because it wasn't going to be geezer hour, but I want to run. He said, when you're younger, you can keep going, and working on your body. And he says, but at some point in your life, your cognitive abilities, where you're not remembering things kind of goes, and your physical, he goes, you can be a 70-year-old guy, but you're still not going to look like you're 40. And he says, or you get to 97 and you can look 70 at 97, but you're still 70, in your body and stuff. And he says, the only thing you can work on is your emotional and how you spend time with your family, how you think, the depth of where you go, that wisdom of the old ages and stuff. Do you kind of feel that?
A little bit, but it's like, don't let the old man in, that famous saying. But the reality is, as you get older, you have less testosterone. You can do the same amount of work. It's not going to grow muscles. And what you have to accept is that it takes longer to recover, to heal from injuries and pulls and those type of things. So you have to be a little bit more careful. You still think you can compete. You still think you can do those things. And you can. It just takes a little bit longer, a little bit more planning, and a little bit more recovery.
Well, another thing that he talked about that I thought was kind of fascinating is he said that, and because I've been doing this, like when you used to sit, okay, you'd want to put on your socks. And I used to be able to do it standing up. I could cross my leg and put my socks on. Now I find myself sitting down. So today I was listening to the podcast and he said, go back and keep doing those things as long as you can. So I balanced on there. I put my socks on. It was a little harder. And he says, you will gain some of that back, but don't. The worst thing to do is to let it go, is to he said, keep fighting to do, getting on the mat. Don't get up and, crawl up off the mat after you're doing your sit-ups. He says, just push yourself up and get up as if you were 20 and fake it, but push yourself to do that. And I went, I get that.
Keep stretching, keep lifting, keep working on your balance. Do it with your eyes closed. which is the toughest thing in the world for somebody who's had knee replacement surgery, because they sever the nerves. So the reality is you're always worried about just being a little bit off balance. And all of a sudden you find yourself on the floor when you go down to tie those shoes or when you go down to pick something up. So it is interesting. You have to adjust your expectations is the best way I can put it, because literally your mind, you think you can do the same things, whether it's on the golf course or playing basketball, pickleball, whatever the case may be. But the reality is there are limitations, and now you're not quite as flexible, not quite as resilient, not quite as quick as you used to be. I played 2 hours of pickleball this morning. We actually did a great job, controlled the challenge court for a while, then ran into 2 young kids that were a third. In fact, I'm 70 plus, so that 70 plus thing is a reality. Every 10 years, when you hit 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, things change just a little bit. The body changes, your eating habits change, what you actually like and what you can handle changes. But you just have to bear with it, stay with it, and sort of refocus.
Pickleball is really big stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
All over. And it used to be like 5 years ago, people thought of it as like us, like the geezer guys. And it's like, but I see 25, 26-year-old people getting involved. I mean, they're starting to really get into it.
They are. Well, there's professional teams now, and it's a venue all over the world. I mean, it's the fastest growing sport in the Northwest Hemisphere, has been for quite a while. I taught pickleball at Chico State back in the 80s. First time I'd ever seen the game. We had wooden paddles with a cord wrapped around your wrist so you didn't lose it and kill somebody with the paddle. It was played indoors on badminton courts. And now it's outdoors and indoors everywhere we go. We play in La Quinta, we play in Eugene, we play in Bend. We take our pickleball paddles with us everywhere. And where our kids play, and we're always looking for that next game or who wants to play. And literally all of the people my age, it used to be tennis players or badminton or racquetball or squash, are playing pickleball.
So who's better, you or Colleen?
That's a tough. She's really, really good, but she's on the shelf right now. She hurt her shoulder, so I'd have to say I'm only a little bit better because she's not playing.
That's the way I'm better than my wife at anything, is when she's injured. Then it's like, well, see, now look, I swim faster than you, you know? So go back to the other thing I was listening to on the podcast that was like, when you get older, creating muscle mass is good. I mean, it really helps.
You have to. You actually have to lift. It helps maintain muscle mass, but it does more for your body. I'm not sure what the kinesthetic proof is, but whatever, physiological proof. But lifting, as you get older, you must lift to maintain your body strength and balance. And just getting up, just sitting down, just all those little things that we take for granted. You need to work at those. You need to work by doing resistance exercises along with cardiovascular work, as they said, to not let the old man in. The inactivity is the worst thing you can do.
Right. And I think what I'm learning through what I'm hearing from folks is that building of that muscle also is burning your fat. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. They think, oh, I don't want to lift weights and get big. It's like, no, that muscle is actually helping you lose weight and firming you up. And you feel so much better when you swing and nothing comes with it. 5 seconds later, nothing follows it. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Yes, I know. And I've been on both sides of that. So I know what you're talking about.
So when were you coach at U of O? I mean, because it was most of the time I was going to games, but when were you coach from?
I was coach there from 1989 when I was the offensive coordinator, became the head coach in 95, retired from that after the 2008 season, and then was the AD for 1 year from 2009 to 2010. So a long time ago. Somebody just sent me a story. I do a program called Truth About Timber for the timber industry. And somebody said, hey, remember this story you did on this singing logger guy? And it was 2004. And I thought, well, that's not that long ago. No, that's a long time ago. Well, I worked for ESPN for almost 8 years after I left Oregon and still involved with college football. But I have been out now for 4 or 5 years. So that's how long, when you talk about my coaching career, it was 36 years of coaching, and I wanted to retire at 55, but I didn't until I was 59. I sort of kept it going longer than I thought I would. And, who knows? I probably could have coached a couple more years, but I'm very happy and pleased that I'm not coaching now, in all honesty.
Yeah, the change. What do you miss about it, Mike?
I miss the camaraderie of the coaches. I miss seeing players grow up and go from boys to men. I miss the Friday night preparation, the Saturday chess match on the field. And I actually miss the Sunday morning reading good things in the paper because we were fortunate to be successful. I miss the involvement. I don't miss the practices from Monday through Thursday. I don't miss being on the road recruiting. I don't miss having to do all of the other stuff. Although I enjoyed meeting with the media. I enjoyed meeting with boosters. I enjoy watching kids develop and come together. And that's something when you're on the outside now, you sort of see it, but the portal and the NIL is sort of destroying that facet of commitment and togetherness of teams. And it's a shame. And it's just the way of the world. But I think it's a harbinger of really bad events for college football and college sports.
So talk to me about the change next year, because the Pac-12 goes away, and what's going to happen? What's your concern about that?
Well, I think the concern is that we, on the West Coast, have been part of the Pac-8, Pac-10, Pac-12 for 100 years or whatever it was, and now there is no more. And I feel very badly for teams like Oregon State and Washington State who are left in limbo. Cal and Stanford are joining the ACC, and they're getting no money for 5 or 6 years. Oregon and Washington joined the Big Ten and are getting a lesser cut in pay, which people think there's just all these millions of dollars floating around. There really aren't. Football and men's basketball make the amount of money that pays for all of the activities of the sports programs at Oregon and most of the other schools. And so it's really difficult because going to make the players unionized, having the portal, having the NIL money, and kids will dip their toe in the portal, see how much NIL money they can get. And if you recruited a young man and you were one of the few people maybe to offer him, you saw a diamond in the rough, you developed him, and then after a year, he jumps and goes to some other program. And to me, that would be very frustrating as a coach. It's the way it is now, but it's also difficult. The camaraderie of the team, the family concept of a team was what we all preach, and we still do. It's just much harder to do because kids are much more transient than they used to be.
Well, and it's good. I mean, I know things change, takes time to get used to, but not playing some of the teams that were, kind of like the standard, I think that's going to tick off the fans,
It will. There's definitely some fans that will say, I don't want to see that. I'm not going to go anywhere. But there's more fans that are excited about the Big Ten and the Big Ten competition. And you're going to have Ohio State coming to Oregon and Michigan at some point and these other schools. But you're right. There's a lot of other schools in Big Ten that Oregon has no history with. When I was there, we played Wisconsin home and home, Michigan home and home, Michigan State home and home. They played Ohio State. Now Ohio State is returning the favor, but they had to join the league to get them to do that. So it's going to be interesting. Football fans love college football. I mean, right. It's truly a great thing. It's just now it's going to be different, and you're going to have to get used to. You're right that Oregon may never play Cal again, or may never play Stanford again, and those are some great rivalries over the years. And I know they're playing Oregon State next year. I hope that's an every year game. And I hope they play Washington State too, because there's a great rivalry there. But I don't control the scheduling. Sometimes even the schools don't, because they're done by the league and they're done 10 years in advance. So I don't know. It's very interesting and it'll be a little bit, not confusing, but just we'll have to get used to it.
And you and Colleen, this is you, because you went to most of the games this year, didn't you? Just because it was the last of the kind of a dying thing.
I went to every home game at Autzen Stadium this year, which I hadn't done in a couple of years. I usually will maybe make it to some away games if they're in the LA Basin or even Arizona. My kids went to the Utah game, Oregon at Utah, and Oregon at Stanford. So they all got a part of watching the last year of the Pac-12. And it's a sad thing when you've been a fan of it, when you've been part of it, when it all of a sudden just goes away. And it was the Conference of Champions, and in 1 year, it just decimated and was eliminated. And that's a sad thing.
So if you go back, and this may be hard, and you don't have to, you can just tell me that you don't want to answer that. I don't know. But if you had to pick three top quarterbacks that you worked with, who would they be? Or
Oh,
I'll even make it three players, even if you want to. But quarterbacks is just what people kind of new names.
we were very fortunate. I can tell you, uh, Max Unger was one of the greatest offensive linemen I ever coached. Haloti Nada was one of the best defensive linemen I ever coached. Jarris Bird, Patrick Chung, some of those kids that played in the secondary were unbelievable. The tight ends we had were unique and great. Peel and Reister, and I'm forgetting Spence. I mean, they're just. But the quarterbacks, I mean, I could give you about 10, but I mean, and I'll forget somebody. But Harrington, obviously, tremendous guy and great, just amazing player, comeback kid. Keely Smith was a great quarterback. Tony Graziani played, I'm forgetting people. And Danny O'Neill, who led us to the Rose Bowl.
Oh, yeah. He's still on my Facebook page, but he doesn't look as old as us, but he does look a lot older.
Yeah, he does. Kellen Clemens, who was one of my favorite people in the world that played in the NFL for 13 years. AJ Feely played for 15 years. I mean, these guys were great. And, I got a chance to watch Mariota and Herbert. I didn't get to coach them, but I said they were two of the best. Marcus was probably the best college quarterback to play at Oregon. Justin Herbert was the best pro potential quarterback to play at Oregon. And, and I didn't get a chance to see Chris Miller and Dan Fouts in their prime. But, obviously the quarterback reputation or history at Oregon is great and is something we're very proud of.
You had a fun run, didn't you? I mean, there's a lot of pressure to be the coach. I remember sitting up in the stands, and because KZI gave me season tickets, so Kathy and I'd be sitting there, and we'd sit around these people, and they'd be screaming. Like, I remember sometimes they'd be screaming about Bellotti he needs to do this and he needs to do that, and I'm sitting up there. And finally, one time, Mike, I just had blown it, because you and Colleen were always so good to me, and I was sitting there and going, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" And the guy turns around and goes, "I'm a plumber." So does Mike start around and tell you how to plumb, and you don't know shit about football except what you think you know? And he's down there coaching. Do you understand what I'm getting at? And the guy just looks at me. He's, "God, Rick Dancer." And I was like, I just had it, because it was on and on. And then he shut up. He never said another word ever if I was sitting there, because he knew I said, "Well, I'm friends with them." And I mean, there's a lot of pressure to be coach.
Yeah, everybody, if you pay your admission to the game, you have a right to say what you think or what you want. That's why I never sat in the stands. But the reality is, I was fortunate to be there when we were building the program. I mean, they hadn't had a winning season in a while. When I got there, we went to a bowl game the very first year. We went to bowl games, I think, every year but one after that. I went after I became the coach. The very first year, we won 9 games, which equaled the amount that we won the year before. Then we lost 2 of our best players. I mean, I lost 3 coaches after the first year, and we went back to 6 wins. Well, in the consecutive years, we won 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 games. And in looking back at that, that's amazing. And would we have liked to do better than that? Yes, but it was a stair-step process of building the program, of maintaining and keeping good recruits, keeping good coaches, getting better or good coaches when somebody else left, and replacing them. And it's hard. But when you get to the top, when you win 11 games, which is the most we could win or get back then, it's hard to stay there. It's not easy. And you have to continually reinvent the wheel and keep re-energizing your coaches and your players. And that's the hard part, because some people take it for granted that, well, they won 11 last year, we should win 11 every year. Why not? And yeah, I'd say why not too, but it takes a lot of work. It's the off season, it's recruiting, it's organization and development. It's always getting that next facility advancement that can compete with anybody else in the nation. And we were fortunate to have the support of Phil Knight, the support of the administration at the university. We had a great athletic director in Bill Moose, and then Pat Kilkenny, who did great things and had great vision. And I was fortunate to be there and to be part of it and to put my 2 cents worth in, and it was good.
Eugene fans, they love their Ducks.
They do. And you know what? Autzen Stadium on Saturday in football season is as great a place as there is in the nation. They
Yeah.
literally, they're hot, heated, loud, and they know when to be loud and when to cheer and when to be quiet. And I remember a game, one game, because we were playing Arizona State at Oregon. They had a big, tall quarterback who went on to play in the NFL, but we had them backed up in the end zone on the west side, and the student section is right there. And the quarterback came out of the huddle. They broke the huddle, and the crowd started yelling. And basically, he said, "Come on, yeah, give it to us. Let us." They got two straight procedural penalties, and then got a safety, or we knocked the ball out of the end zone on a punt. And so the fans just went crazy, and it was great. But you don't challenge the Autzen Stadium fans right there.
I remember listening, being at home and hearing a game, and you'd hear the national sportscast people, and they'd be going, "Oh my," they'd start, especially if it's somebody new that'd never been there, and they go, "This place is nuts." I mean, it's so, because Autzen's really a relatively small stadium compared to some, but noisy. And they said you'd hear the sports, "We can't even hear what we're doing right now because it's so crowded here."
That is the honest to God truth. It was the smallest stadium. It was only, when I got there, 41,667. And then now it's 59,000 something. But because of the overhang on the one side, the sound goes up and comes right back down. People ask me, why did I wear a double earmuff deal on the sidelines? Because I can't hear. I couldn't hear. The crowd makes so much noise. I've got to hear and make calls and listen to what we're doing on offense and defense. And literally, if I didn't do that, I couldn't hear what our coaches were saying.
So let's talk about the reason you're coming back to Eugene into May, Muscular Dystrophy Association. How did you get connected with them in the early days, and how long ago was that, Mike?
I believe it was 1993 or 4. Rich Brooks, they approached Rich Brooks, who was the head coach at that time, a local person from MDA, and said, "Would you sponsor a tournament, golf tournament and auction to benefit muscular dystrophy?" And he said, "Sure." And so he put on the inaugural first edition deal, and then he left, and he got the job with the Rams, and I became the head coach. And they asked me, "Coach Bellotti, would you like to do this?" And I said, do you really want me? I mean, I don't think I don't know that many. He goes, "Yeah, we'd love to do it." So and it started because of Gary Campbell's son, Brian Campbell, who has since passed away, but he suffered from Wernicke-Hoffman syndrome, which was a neuromuscular disease. And so we had an upfront idea of what they had to deal with on an everyday basis. And so it was very easy for me to say, "Sure, I'd love to do it." And we've done it for 30 plus years now. And it's been one of those things, as you get older, as you are retired from the things that you did as work, there are some things you do because it makes you feel good about yourself, that you're doing something positive for people who need him, who didn't choose to be there. Nothing they did, it just happened to them. And now we can provide research and support and equipment and things that can enhance their life and make them feel better, live longer, live stronger, healthier lives. And it's an amazing thing. And you don't get that opportunity that often. So the fact that I can do that is still something that's very important to me.
And what's so cool about that too is it's become part of who you are, and helping. I bet when you first said, "Yeah," it was like, "Yeah, I'm going to do a good thing, and we'll find out, and we have a reason to do this." But over those 30 some years, you probably met tons of people that have been helped by MDA, and that that doing a golf tournament can do that much for people.
Well, we're heading towards $4 million that we've raised. We raised $400,000 last year in our 2-day event. I saw something that since I don't know, I can't remember the dates and the numbers, but the reality is it's an amazing thing. We serve about 3,800 people in Lane County or in the state of Oregon that need help because of muscular disease. And we put people in summer camps, which are an amazing thing. If I don't know if you ever went to summer camp. I never did. I went to athletic camps, but these are summer camps for people who may not be able to walk, who may need a wheelchair, but they get a chance to go swim in a pool, go do things, and be normal for a week and feel like they can do anything anybody else can do. And it's an amazing deal. It changes kids' lives. It changes families' lives. And we've had people who have been on my committee for MDA that have gone and been camp counselors. And the stories they tell of how moving it was for them, how it changed their life to see how they could make people happy. It's an amazing thing. And then the amount of research that has uncovered new drugs to help people deal with the problems of neuromuscular disease. We've had some people that have been our speakers and have passed away. We've been our speakers, have people that have been our speakers and were afflicted at one point and now are leading a much better life because of some of the advancements that muscular dystrophy has made, the Muscular Dystrophy Association. So it's an amazing thing. And it's something I learn more every year. Inadvertently, I see it. I meet people that are appreciative of what we do, and I say thank you, but thank these people because I don't live in Eugene anymore. That's the other thing. It's sort of unique. I mean, I'm there for the games, but I don't live there. And to fact, I have a great committee. I have people in the city and in the Lane County that give and support and donate and help get auction items and help set up the golf tournament. Thanks to Eugene Country Club. It's an amazing thing that I'm so proud to be part of.
And so when is the dates, and can people still sign up and be part? How does that kind of give people an idea of how that works?
Yes. May 16th is the gala dinner Toast to Strength auction. It's in the club room at Otson. Starts about 5:30, I believe, with like a cocktail hour silent auction. And then we have dinner, and then we go into a live auction. There are still some seats available. And then there's a golf tournament, a 2-flighted golf tournament the next day at Eugene Country Club. The early flight starts around 8 a.m. in the morning. The second flight is around 1 p.m. in the afternoon. There are still spots available for that. You can sign up. You can bring a team. You can have a sponsorship. We're still looking for some sponsors for tee prizes or signs along, hole signs. I don't know, whatever. But you can go online and look at Mike Bellotti's Toast to Strength. I think it's the 31st annual, and it has all the information. And it's got Jackie Kluchart is our person with MDA that handles it. And one other thing, MDA is one of the best at turning over the money directly to the people who need it. All of the people who now work for MDA, they used to rent office space. Now they work from home to be more efficient. And I thought that was an amazing thing because, some of these companies who give money or raise money to fund things, a lot of that money goes back in their pockets. That's not the case with MDA.
So, so this is the weekend of the 16th and 17th.
It's Thursday, Friday,
Thursday, Friday,
17th, Thursday evening, Friday, all day for the golf.
Okay. And, as long as we're talking, I know she's in the other room, but Colleen has been doing the turnaround awards for, I don't know how long. And that's back as well. That's something, and you're involved with that too. You guys pay for all those awards for kids who've turned their lives around in middle school and high schools in the whole area, including Junction City, Crestwell. I mean, all kinds of different schools. And you guys are still doing that as well.
We are, and it's a Turnaround Achievement Award program. And that started the very first year I became head coach at Oregon. I was asked to speak to the same entity in Salem, Oregon. And so Colleen and I went to it and watched it happen. And we're so moved by the stories of the teachers and the kids who had turned their lives around. And she said, maybe we can do that in Eugene. I said, sure, go for it. Let's do it. So yes, she has been doing that. She used to have a luncheon deal, and when COVID hit, that sort of changed, and people are more leery about going out. But she still delivers the plaques to the schools. They have assemblies where they give the young people, those that have turned their lives around, basically changed. And there are still people that will call my wife or see her in the street in Eugene and say, "Thank you very much. You may not remember me, but I was a Turnaround Achievement Award winner for Willamette High School in such and such a time." And she'll go, "Yeah, I think I do remember you. Remember your face or remember the name, what's your name," kind of thing. So yeah, it's an amazing thing. And the MDA and the Turnaround Achievement Award program has gone hand in hand for us.
And I used to get to MC those for you guys. And you would not believe, Mike, how many times I'll get connected with somebody who said, "Oh, by the way, you gave me my turnaround award in such and such a year," and it's like, it really acknowledging people really does make a huge difference in their lives. A huge difference. I don't think we understand how much that can turn someone around. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure who shed more tears at that thing, you or me, because, and I'm serious, because you would hear these stories about these kids, men and women who went through unbelievable things or had no support or had an early pregnancy or were put in jail for, and then came back and said, I'm not going to let that define me. I want to become this. And they got their GED or they came back to school and they were doing it with the odds of either having a child or having a disability that they had to overcome. And it is an amazing deal. And we will do that probably the rest of our lives.
Yeah, that I don't know. The one that there's so many that stand out to me, but the one year when the young man who couldn't speak was also blind, and got up and a computer program, he was able to program it and it spoke for him and said basically, I'm in here. You don't think I am. You don't see me. I matter. I know when people, and I was like, I remember, and the worst part for me was at least you and Colleen got to sit in the audience facing me. I was in front of everybody in the room, and it's like when it starts, it was like, but there was not a dry eye in that room. And in a moment, I remember saying to people, "Don't ever forget this day because you just saw a miracle." I mean and plus, it was like that thing where you kind of look at people that are in those situations, you think, I know you know more about what's going on in the world than we know. You're more informed than we are about what you know. And that kid with that computer program was able to prove that. And I think what was fun to do, Mike, about that is you'd watch the other kids who got turnaround awards and you'd look at their faces and they're crying and you're looking at these kids who had been kind of hard at some point and they're looking and going, oh my gosh, I'm in this elite group of people who actually did this. That's pretty powerful stuff.
It was. And the other people that I think were really moved, the teachers or the counselors who had something to do with it, whether they were the person that helped light the fire or kept the flame going for them to make their turnaround, and how proud they were. And it's why you do what you do. It's why you teach. It's for that result, or why you are a counselor, so that you can make a difference and help people find their calling. So yeah, it's a great deal. It gives me goosebumps thinking about it right now.
Yeah, me too. I mean, the three of us were always like kind of like looking at each other like it was a team. I was on the team at that point. It was really fun. So, Mike, let me ask you.
You were up there, though. I agree. I had a safer spot. I know that.
Okay, so the last thing I'll ask you, and it's kind of a weird question, but I just wanted to, because I just think of stuff like this. But what do you want people to remember you for? I know that's a hard one, and
that's a good question. I think as someone that people could count on, someone that cared about Oregon and the university and my players. I hope that they, one, learned how to become gentlemen and scholars and good people and know right from wrong and do right. And if you have to think twice, you don't have to even do it. So I think basically I'm very comfortable. I've said this before that what I did, I was part of a great thing that happened at Oregon. And I was part of a great thing with the MDA. And I was part of a great thing with the Turnaround Achievement Award Program. And those are things that hopefully people will say, yeah, that was really cool. And that was fun. And that was something that has essence and has a lasting power to make a difference.
As somebody who was in the stands, watching those, even when I didn't have, before I really knew you guys, I mean, I'd met you years ago, but before I really knew you guys, I think that I always thought of you as somebody that had like a lot of kids, because all those young men were like I mean, you have three, don't you have three kids? Three?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have three wonderful kids and you're a dad to them, but you also had all these other young men that you helped raise. And, I think if I was going to remember one thing about you, I think that would be what it was, is that you raised a lot of very good men in our culture and society and gave them an opportunity to figure out that they were more than they were as a coach.
I still have a few players that call me and say, "Thank you, coach, for what you did for me." And they were the knuckleheads. They were the kids that needed a little bit of help and support and push and a little parental kind of thing. And they say, I didn't get it at the time, but you helped me figure it out. And now that I'm a coach, or now that I'm a parent, I sort of see what you're saying, because it wasn't, my players didn't always like me. They weren't always going to agree with what I wanted, but I wanted them to, at the end of the day, respect me and recognize that I had their own interest at heart, their best interest, not mine, theirs, and that it was something that, and then maybe it was my perception of what I wanted for them, but still it was something that I said, okay, you may not like me right now, but the reality is I think this is going to make you better. It's going to prepare you better to be successful in business, successful in life, as a father, as a husband, as whatever you need to be, as a partner, as a leader. And we did a lot with leadership. We did a lot with team unity and things like that. I thought it was very important to get kids together that weren't only together because they were on the teammates, but that they would support each other and have each other's backs.
So I don't want to pry into what your family's doing, but I saw something with Luke and Colleen. Like, what is Luke doing? And he one beautiful piano player or whatever. I mean, it was just came up online, and I saw it because it had Colleen's name on there too, and I was like, what? So what does he do? I mean, he's making some beautiful music.
Luke is a pianist. He plays the piano. He plays at weddings. He plays with a band. He does some gigs, but he's also a personal trainer. So fitness and music are his two things. And it's about a balance right now. I think if he had it to do, he would say, I mean, he loves to work out, and he's a personal trainer, and he has people that he trains both online and in person. But every spare minute he plays the piano. And I think that's his calling. That's what he would love to do. And he's become a little bit more focused recently on what he can do to get the business going of training, so that he can focus even more on playing the piano and doing music, which he loves.
He's very good.
He is very gifted. Didn't get it from me, I'll just tell you.
Well, yeah.
But,
well, yeah, you're not exactly what I think of as a pianist. You know what I mean?
well,
And then your daughter and your other son.
My daughter is married and lives in Katy, Texas, and has 4 children. So we have 3 grandchildren, which is 4 grandchildren, 3 boys and a girl, which is great. My youngest son just got married, and he and his wife moved to Bend, Oregon. So actually, they're our neighbors in Bend. So it's the first time any of our kids have lived close. For a long time, they were in Shreveport, Louisiana, Salt Lake City, Utah, and Thousand Oaks, California. And we were in Bend. So now we actually have one of them close by.
Well, there you go. Mike, thank you so much for spending, 40 minutes just yakking with me and talking. And thank you for all the stuff you and Colleen do in the community, still in Oregon, but all over. I mean, it's obviously, communities are bigger than Eugene. There's a whole big world out here. And I can't wait to see both of you at the MDA that night on Thursday night. And I'm not golfing. I think Bratlin wants me out there just to hang with him. But he said, "Do you want to do a team?" And I go, "Mike, I am the worst golfer on the planet. And I've done this before." And people go, no, you're probably fine. We get to the second hole and they go, "You really are bad." And I said, one thing I know in my life at 64 and almost 65 years old is when not to embarrass myself.
Yeah, those will happen by themselves sometimes. You don't need to encourage it. But I will tell you this: the intro to your show right here, that you have a good look. There's enough things there. You look like Jeremiah Johnson, or who are what was the guy that fought through the snow and the weeds and all that stuff? But you look like you've been on a few treks.
Well, I'll tell you, after now, the one thing bad is about like the hair and the beard. It's like I'm at the gym this morning and this 33-year-old kid's next to me, and he looks over and he goes, "Dude, that is one great look, like what you're doing there." And I start laughing. And a friend of mine said, "Do you know you can't go anywhere though? Because people will recognize you. Like if you ever want to shoplift," I'm kidding, of course. But they said, "You are somebody that people are not going to forget when you walk in the room." And he says, "So it's a good thing, but it's also going to be your curse, because haven't you been here before?" And I don't know. It was another guy with white hair and a beard,
I think most people would take your hair and beard though, and take the chances.
All right. So give your wife a hug, and I will see you guys in next month. I'm excited to see you and be around you.
And tell Dr. Bratlin I really appreciate him being our title sponsor
Yeah,
for
he is.
talk.
All right, Michael. See you later. Thank you.
Okay. See you. Bye-bye.
All right. So again, the MDA golf tournament the night before is the gala when they have the auction and everything going on. And Mike Bellotti, just look him up and you can find the website to get more information if you'd like to put together a team and get out there and support them. Yeah, I think one of the things you learn from people like Mike and Colleen is, you can have a big name, but if you don't put your heart behind it, it doesn't really mean that much. And that's why I think they have continue to be such a part of Oregon history, is because they continue to give. So if you're feeling like your life isn't working that well, maybe you need to take the focus off of you and put it on other people and what they're doing. Go serve somebody else and your problems won't seem quite so bad. And we spend far too much time focusing on what is going on with us. It's natural, it's human. But the way to change that is to start turning your life around and focusing on other people who need your help. Again, Dr. Bratlin, we thank you for your sponsorship of our show and also the other things that you're doing in the community. And I'll be back in Oregon to be part of the MDA and everything that's going on. So that's it for this edition. Share it on your page, because Facebook doesn't let me say that anymore on there. Controlling, censoring media. Oh my God, if it had been like that when I worked there, I would have left a long time ago. I'm Rick Dancer. We'll talk with you soon.